Right.
So the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Just to get a feel of the room, raise your hand if you've heard of Speckle and actively used, so have an account, done some sending and receiving, maybe a bit less. Okay, so I'll give a very general background to who we are and what we do, but I'll be around today, tomorrow as well, if anyone has any more specific questions. So Speckle is both a product and a company. So we're here to make the AEC better, I think just like everyone else in this room or participating in the hackathon. A little bit more about me. I'm a structural engineer by education, and just in my day-to-day struggles with engineering workflows and data exchange with other project parties, I went down the road of just upskilling myself a little bit more in computational practices and basically fell in love with the process, also fell in love with Speckle, and as of 8 months ago, joined in both a connector role as well as in our growth community role. So when we say we're here to make the AEC better, that kind of implies that we're dealing with a bit of a problem. And as you see on the left, there's a bit of a paradox. So about 50 years ago, we were working very statically, a lot of paper files. Now we've switched to digital files. So with the advent of all of this technological innovation, it kind of feels like the problem has been exacerbated quite a bit. So we're still working in fragmented, disconnected and manual environments. We've heard a lot of data silos and those words being dropped in the presentations today. So that's really the big problem, overarching thing that we're looking at. We can kind of go more granular on the problem itself. So the data fragmentation, a lot of the reasons for that is that we're wasting a lot of time wrangling data across different platforms. So I'm exchanging my ETABS model with an architect. They don't understand that information. The ETABS native file format is maybe not compatible with Rhino, so you maybe export as a CSV. You try and, you wrangle all that data just to get some reference geometry out, as an example. That highlights also the vendor lock-in. So a lot of the large players in the architectural and engineering software development field, they want you to use their file formats and stay in their domain. There's a lack of productivity because of all of this as well. So we spend a lot of time not doing the design-related tasks that we should actually be doing to really bring value to a project. That's going a bit more granular. So we're trying to position ourselves that we can fix the solution together with many other tools. And the title of the talk is also the Collaborative Data Hub for the AEC. So that's the problem. The solution is threefold. We always speak of our 3 pillars at Speckle. So it's the connect, collaborate, and automate. This infrastructure is then wrapped up in a very flexible infrastructural layer that gives you the control. And we'll go more into these pillars in a bit more depth of what that means. So that's the approach, connect, collaborate, and automate. But taking a step back, is to look at the secret sauce. So how do we go about this? Our technology, so typically starting at the top, our technology will transform your native file formats and decompose them into their respective objects. So we don't think of a model as a Revit model. We're thinking of the objects and the components that are inside that model that make up and tell the story of your structure. So every single building element or property will then become instantly accessible when you then send from your host application into Speckle. Once you're in the Speckleverse, so once your model or your data has landed up in that blue cube, you don't need any downloading of software. There's no licenses or fancy computers that need to be used in order just to access the data. So breaking your data free out of that vendor lock-in. Once your model is in that blue cube, so in Speckle, you basically have you have carte blanche and you have the control to do whatever you want with that data. So what most people know at the upper tier, so you've maybe sent a model from Revit and you can choose to receive that in a different host application. So send from Revit, receive in Rhino, and the decomposition of the objects. Internally, it's like sending a WhatsApp. You don't need to think about it. We do the mappings back, so you're going from ideally from a native say, Revit object to a native Rhino object, or choosing from any of our 27 connectors in the version 2. And we're going into next year now, of which we have 8, I think. But I'll introduce that later. So that's basically send and receive that a lot of people use Speckle for right in the beginning. So I have something in this file format, or I have something in X and I want to receive it in Y. In the middle tier, we see the Python logo as well as JavaScript and .NET Core. We have all of this information from your project available to you through our SDKs or the APIs. And you can programmatically then access all of your model information like a highly nested JSON structure. Maybe less fancy, but also very powerful, is just interrogating your model information through the viewer. So all your slicing operations, measuring, filtering by properties. If that metadata is within an object, it is filterable. You can compare model versions, and you can also tag teammates and have conversations. So this was supposed to be high level, and I've gone a bit too in detail. Now going more into detail. So the features of Connect, like I said, it's typically someone's starting block discovering Speckle. And we will face the problem of, I don't have the software, how do I then communicate with this information? I only have another software, and that's where the connectors come into play. So it enables this transfer. What's better is that you don't really need to think about how those translations or those transfers happen. In this little animation, we see information going from Rhino and being received in Revit. This isn't the only use case. I think I say that repeatedly because it's probably the most popular authoring softwares. But like I mentioned, the version 2 connectors, we have about 20 odd connectors that you can choose from. And now we're moving into next generation connectors. And these are built off of how we understand the core workflows, because every company is unique. Every individual works differently as well. So it's quite challenging to encompass a perfect workflow that really speaks to every single individual. But at the very base, what you'll always get is data extraction. So this is the foundation of our sending process. So the metadata that's attached to your objects, as well as a physical or visual representation of that object, will get sent from any of your host applications. Again, Revit, Rhino, Grasshopper, eTabs, Navisworks. Going a bit more with increasing maturity, we have the real-time coordination. And then on a very high level, we're talking multiplayer modeling, of which the 3 we have examples. Let's hope that plays. I have to click here. So this is really the highest level, where we have Claire on the left and Bilal on the right. They're both working the same Speckle project on different Rhino instances. But Bilal will get notified, for example, when Claire has made changes, and now he's going to say, okay, it's out of sync, and he updates and he receives everything that Claire's working on. On the left-hand side, Claire is now receiving the updates that Bilal just made to the stairs. So this is on a very mature next generation coordination or workflow level. They aren't all up to this level, so just one low on the real-time coordination. This is maybe speaking across 2 different host applications, so between Rhino and ArchiCAD or Revit, whatever your authoring application is of choice. There is some sort of commonality between those, and that is Speckle at the center. I think that's come up twice now. Sorry, let me try. There we go. We're not talking just BIM authoring softwares. So there's a lot that you can do just with the data. So if you think about just consuming all of that data in an SDK and running some sort of Python script that has a computation of sorts, or the aspects of Power BI and Excel, which really rely on this visual data, well, not just the visual, but the semantic data that's associated with your objects. So we can see here, we still have the visual representation, but you can interrogate that the data on a very granular level. So some very cool Power BI dashboards being built. But going back to what I was saying at the beginning, we don't know how everyone works. The idea is that we just give you the tools in order for you to kind of chain things together in an optimal workflow. So there are a lot of examples, and the best examples are those that we take out of fellow Specklers. So we're there just to assist and kind of help you chain together your dream workflow, and then hopefully it'll land up on the website, and that is basically our main goal. On the collaborate side of things, the viewer is extremely powerful. So we see, you can imagine two different Specklers or people in a project. They're on a call. You don't need to share PDF plans or anything. One person can just open up the Speckle model, and you can click on that person and actually follow them, see exactly what they're seeing in real time. So the filtering that they're applying, the section boxes that they're using, and this is all in real time. So there's no need for another license to another software that you can then all neutrally view the file. If anyone's got a link to that Speckle project and has access, then they can view everything in real time, as well as commenting, attaching files. So in a real collaboration environment. If you think of a massive project, we've seen some really cool projects being demonstrated today. It won't just be sitting in one central place. If you think of, if anyone's familiar with GitHub, it's the same sort of approach. You can aggregate your models, be it according to discipline, authoring software, or project package. You really have carte blanche to split up your models as you want. But because they all belong to the same project, you can federate that information to kind of display the whole picture at all times. We have a strong diffing requirement. So every time you send a new model to Speckle, you're not deleting everything. The old version is stored or remembered, just like in a GitHub approach. And we can, from version to version, do a diffing bit from both our hashed application IDs as well as the application IDs coming from the authoring software. And that's the real powerful thing. If you think about it, it's no longer this model version underscore v2 and then underscore v2.1, moving things into a superseded folder. That's not this approach. You have all your versions, and when you send a new one, that is the latest that you can view, but you always have access to the previous versions. Automate is a really exciting feature, probably very applicable to everyone in the room today. You have access to all of that metadata that you send to Speckle through the SDKs. And if you find yourself maybe running a Python script on top of a Speckle model every single time, and it's just you because that Python script works on your computer, you don't need to do that. With Automate, we basically give you the infrastructure and the platform to publish your Python script as a automation or as a function that anyone in your project team or in your organization can assign to a model, meaning you have this continuous integration and continuous delivery. The latest state of your model is always the correct state. There's no break in the chain of information. So send a model, automation is triggered, you get results, and you can keep going in that way. So it's giving you more time for the actual design tasks, the things that really bring value to your project. So we have some examples. On the left is a CFD analysis. So that is the same, no matter what. It's your input geometry that changes. So you shouldn't be doing a lot of clicking for new projects. You just create an automation for that. And then it does the CFD for different types of input geometries that are coming along. If we're talking QA, QC, you can set up, if you can describe it in words, for example, a clash detection, what that means, you can script that programmatically, publish that function, and everyone in your team can use it. So every time you send a new Revit model, it will then go through these checks of what you define as a clash, and it'll give you instant feedback on your results. Everything that you've seen so far is wrapped up in a tech layer, which is open source and extensible. So our technology really puts you in control. You can create your own custom integrations. We've seen some people use Speckle as a basis for AI applications or other applications, for example, this LCA calculator. All this is available on a very flexible infrastructural layer, can be hosted virtually anywhere. You own your data, so we offer multiple deployment scenarios on any cloud provider. or region, and you can also self-host. I'm running over time a little bit. Yeah. What's coming next? Well, this is maybe a little bit old already. We have, I think, 8 next-gen connectors now. So taken the learnings from V2, stripped the connectors, and written a newer version of our connectors, which come with a fair deal of improvements. So instant feedback and faster iterations throughout your models. It is about 100 times faster connectivity. So your first send is about 100 times faster. Your second send, because of the caching that we've employed, is about 1,000 times faster, which is some really incredible speed when it comes to uploading. We've introduced workspaces. This is something that's come out of a lot of requests from users, and that's mainly focused around control and security. So you have the opportunity, so under advanced security settings, basically where your data is stored, data regionality. We offer single sign-on as well as your security certifications that you usually need when employing new software, as well as just on the members level, who has permission to do what on different projects. Linked with workspaces is if you've written a really cool automation that you want to keep maybe for your company's use, but not for everyone, which is maybe not so open sourcey, but we offer the ability to create private functions which are hosted then within your workspace that anyone within your workspace can use, but not outside of. The viewer has come with a lot of enhancements. So we previously had just the one view mode. Now we have about 7 different view modes, including one with snow. So some really cool things happening there. Constant implementation of things that we find cool and that also come out of interaction with fellow Specklers. So for example, this Speckle is something that Kate has created, which is really cool. So it's turning your Speckle models into geospatial data and placing them in its context. Together with the next gen, we're working on better IFC uploads. So dragging and dropping your IFC model will get passed and uploaded into Speckle. A very big request is the Power BI offline mode, which is also coming soon. From Rhino to Revit, improved BREP receives. The workspaces offerings, there I would really just say, chat to us, because we also understand what your needs are for the different projects. And for those who are excited about getting started or maybe want to carry on, we have a lot of information. I think the most exciting thing that I'll push to is just the community, so speckle.community. We are very active in responding, and we enjoy seeing use cases coming out of the practice. Just go to app.speckle.systems to get started. That's really quick. And like I said, we're always there to answer any questions, and we enjoy doing that. I see some people taking some pictures, so I'll leave it on there. That's the last slide. Yeah, happy to take any questions.
Awesome.